I make manga and I let people put their OCs into the lore. And because all my series take place in different time periods, that means characters can exist in the past and the future. And as part of their Diamond sub, they get RP sessions in order to impact the world. So let's talk about one of those RP sessions and how it ended up affecting the world. So this story is going to follow a werebear orc named Gruuk. And our young strapping orc here had a problem because he lived all alone by himself because of relationship issues. And what kind of issues could he possibly have at this age? Well, he pissed off a white dragon. And while I'm legally not allowed to go into what the white dragon was doing, all you need to know is our boy got in the way of one of his couriers and it ended up causing some issues. So what did the white dragon do? The white dragon did dragon things, came and asserted his dominance all over his tribe. So now our young Gruuk felt really, really bad about what happened, so he self-exiled himself far, far away. Well, this is the northern region where the werebear northern tribes usually hang out, outside of the tiger domain. But this man self-exiled himself all the way up here. He walked almost an entire America left to right length to get away from his problems. And as he had made himself a little bit of home, living by himself, living off nature, one day he heard a loud bang, and then all of a sudden some very, very Brooklyn yelling like, "What the fuck did you do?" And as he went to investigate, he went over a small hill to identify a man knocking the hell out of somebody else. And it turned out to be an elven woman. An orc man was beating an elven woman who turned out to be his sister because she had gotten drunk while he was asleep and driven their only boat into land. Somebody has an alcohol problem. But instead of getting in the way of this and saving the young maiden jumps back on him, and they go into probably one of the most brutal sibling back and forths that young Gruuk had probably seen in quite a while. And even when he tried to intervene and help one of them, the other would jump in and verbally assault him, never actually using his name once, always just insulting him like a good Brooklyn does. But upon the siblings seeing this stranger walk out of the middle of the woods, the brother ordered his sister, his drunk sister, to go get a weapon so they can defend themselves against the cannibals that definitely exist in this region. But in her drunken stupor, when she returned, she ended up stabbing her brother and cutting her own hand on her blade instead of actively defending themselves. So young Gruuk, being the kind-hearted individual, he mends up their wounds and goes to help push their boat back into the water. And they find out that the boat's really stuck. She literally just drove that thing right onto land like it belonged there. So after a bunch of awful rolls, I mean ones, lots and lots of ones, the drunken elf sister musters up enough strength to do her part, and he transforms into a bear. In return for her getting some alcohol, she'll keep his secret. And so they depart onto the ocean. And the thing you need to know about the water here is if you go too far into the water, there are monsters, big bad monsters, enough big bad monsters that sea trade is not really a thing. Like deep sea trade is not a thing. Like what we do in our world does not happen here because it is so dangerous. You know, like the sweet spot is about like a mile off the coast and then you should be fine. But, you know, maybe a mile and a half, maybe two. That's like when you're getting like, all right, we're pushing our luck. So our boy, being the kind-hearted individual, agrees to go with them in return for some gold. And as they're sailing, one day he's taking the reins of the night. He's steering along when he hears nothing, but he sees somebody flailing in the water, flailing around like they're drowning. He ends up getting the twins' attention because they're fighting once again, and they're like, yeah, sucks to be them, sucks to be them. They are too far out. They're a mile out from us. We're not going there. We're not going 2 miles off coast. Sucks to suck. But he is relentless, and he ends up taking off his clothes, jumping into the freezing cold water, and starts to swim a mile out to rescue this person who for 3/4 of a mile is still viciously, I mean, flailing around. And it's only when he gets within that last little bit does the person seem to go like, oh no, oh no. And then whenever he gets close again, they're flailing again. So this person has not made a noise the entire time. No screaming, no calls for help, nothing, just flailing. And our boy Gruuk's like, let me look underwater. I got really good bear vision. Let me look underwater real quick. So he looks underwater. This is what he sees up top. This is what he sees down below. This is the person. This is the creature. He encounters a drowned nymph. And short story, even shorter than the combat, he gets eaten. But because the mage, who is the sister, ended up using wild magic to try to save him in this combat encounter, the drowned nymph ended up getting teleported all the way across the world to Mount Motra. This is where he was. This is where he ended up. And you know what? Conveniently, but he ended up right where he needed to be in order to participate in the Diamond OC server raid against Nina. So if you want to be a part of the mangas, all you got to do is grab a Diamond OC sub and we can get you into the next server raid.